Okay, so we'll just pass the mic between, and what I'll do is I'll start by just asking you to introduce yourselves, and then we'll go.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So, ladies, welcome. Very pleased to be here today at South by Southwest with you at the beautiful nuclear event. I wanted to take the advantage of you all being here to have a conversation about why it's so important to have public engagement around nuclear and why we need a grassroots movement to help us convince people, win hearts and minds on nuclear. So I wondered if we could just start by introducing ourselves. So Paris, would you like to go first?
Yes, hi. So I'm Paris Ortiz-Wines, and I am the global organizer of Stand Up for Nuclear, which is a global initiative that basically is we advocate for the protection and expansion of nuclear energy.
Fantastic, thank you. And Thea?
Hi, I'm Törmänen. I work as an international coordinator for WePlanet, which is a global environmental movement, pro-science, pro-technology, pro-development. And we fight for science, and we want to correct misinformation. And we also promote technologies that we believe that can shrink the human environmental footprint, and nuclear is one of them.
Fantastic, and thankfully, finally, Heather.
Hi, my name's Heather Hoff. I'm co-founder of a nonprofit organization called Mothers for Nuclear, which Kristen Zaitz and I started specifically to talk differently about nuclear, to help reach mothers and women and people who might be skeptical.
Wonderful. So my first question is, obviously nuclear has been around for a long time, and why do you think right now we need to be engaging in a conversation with the public specifically? Heather, if you want to start.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Mothers for Nuclear, we created it specifically to talk to mothers and women and people who typically haven't heard a good message about nuclear energy. They don't have the hope that it took me a long time to learn about how nuclear energy works, and I have a job at a power plant. It took me about 6 years of asking questions to realize how amazing nuclear is and that it does have a really low environmental footprint, and I want to share that with other people.
Brilliant. And maybe Taya, you can hook it to us. Why does nuclear have such a low environmental footprint? What are the benefits of this power?
Well, the main reason is that uranium is just so energy dense that you need very little of it to produce an immense amount of energy. So that means less mining because you need so very little of it. And the power plants, they don't take a lot of space either, because they can just, for example, I visited the Olkiluoto island in Finland last October, and it has 3 power plants, and you can walk through the area in 15 minutes or so, and it produces like 30% of Finland's electricity. It's just on that one single island, so that really demonstrates how small the environmental footprint is.
That's amazing. And Paris, you've been involved in a campaign to save California's last active nuclear power station, which I know Heather is very involved in. Tell us why that needed public support.
Yeah, so in California, we claim to be a climate leader. We claim that we put up all these solar panels, we're going to go in wind, and we are leading the world in what the transition should look like. And unfortunately, we still get a lot of our our electricity from natural gas, 50%. And nobody knew about our power plant. And I didn't even know that I had one in my backyard until like 6 years ago, and how sad and how unfortunate. So it's just not on the radar. And I don't know if it's nuclear is going to be super sexy and people will be like out in the streets, all of us be like, we need it. But I think we need people to be like, oh, I hear nuclear and it's good. Oh, I know about Diablo Canyon and I like politicians that support it. And so for us, Diablo Canyon was on the chopping block, 15% of our zero carbon electricity. My friend Heather works there, and she's the one that operates and used to operate and writes the procedures for. So we needed public support, because what an climate injustice would it be if nobody stood up for our last single largest source of clean electricity?
And so thanks to your work, combined with Heather and others, Heather, do you want to tell us, what happened? How did the grassroots movement make a difference?
Well, yeah, that's a big thing. And I think part of what happened with Diablo Canyon was people realizing just the reality of the situation. Like Paris said, 50% of our electricity comes from natural gas. We import 30% of our electricity. And with the idea of shutting down Diablo Canyon coming up, it was supposed to happen this year. people started realizing like that's not the right way to go. We could even face blackouts. So we don't have enough energy, period, without even talking about whether it's clean or not. And we should be so focused on replacing fossil fuels first and preserving existing clean energy resources, of which Diablo Canyon is a huge one.
And so what was specifically done by the grassroots movement? Like, what did that bring in terms of the politics? Like, people were outside the plant, were they? Or how did it manifest?
A little bit, yeah. We hold rallies and we do a lot of outreach to our government officials, and we basically show people that it's okay to support nuclear. If a mom supports nuclear, then why wouldn't I? And I think people haven't seen that kind of support for nuclear in the past, and so by putting that out on social media and by having stickers on our phones and our cars, people see that and they're like, what, mother's for nuclear? Is that a thing? And they're just kind of shocked by it, and they notice it and they're like, oh, maybe I should rethink, my previous assumptions.
Brilliant. Amazing.
Yeah.
And Taya, you've kind of taken this concept and also had similar wins, right? But in the European context. Do you want to tell us, like, WePlanet's kind of how you've changed politics?
Yeah, so in Finland, I mean, the support for nuclear has been pretty high in general, but there was a big drop after Fukushima happened. And then our organization started in 2015, and IPCC reports started coming out saying, like, we're really in trouble. So we took this message to not only the usual nuclear supporters, but we wanted to convince the left and the Greens and the whole environmental movement in Finland, and we succeeded in this. I'm a biologist myself, so I think, like Heather said, it's important to hear this message from others than male engineers. It's important to hear from mothers, from biologists saying why we need nuclear, and we want to repeat this success that we've done in Finland in all the other countries in the world. So still in Europe, the main environmental NGOs are campaigning against nuclear. They just sued the EU Commission for including nuclear into taxonomy of sustainable investments. And WePlanet is involved in this court case we got in, and we're defending the Commission, saying that it's based on science. Nuclear is sustainable. And so we're there to, fight for nuclear.
Excellent. And so thinking to the future then, so, this is a relatively new movement. It's chalked up some great successes. What's exciting you, Paris, about kind of in the future? Like, is this, what gets you up in the morning at the moment?
Well, I was just talking about it. For me, because I'm from an environmental background, I was a bit devastated about the climate crisis, and I was like, what can I do to really help? And nuclear came upon my horizons, and now having a solution where I can be like, if I extend this nuclear plant by a couple years, many of my emissions would have been already covered, right? Like, it's just that energy dense, it's that impactful. And so what really excites me is, like, I've known Heather for a couple years, as well as Taya, and our movement is small. And there is, we have organizations everywhere, but our allies are still doing volunteering their time. But what's really exciting is that we are able to seize on the opportunity where, like, nuclear is back in the conversation now. We're going to do a demo next week in front of the IAEA summit. And we didn't think there's going to be anti-nuclears there, but they're going to be there, and they're going to face us, and they're going to see that there's pro-nuclear support. And that's just, it's a small thing. However, we weren't even relevant to them years ago.
Yeah.
So now that they're coming out, it's like, you're a little scared now, because people are realizing, actually, the conversation cannot be had without nuclear. It's been the unsung hero.
Yeah.
It's been doing the energy transition.
Yeah.
And so I think we're seeing that shift. And because we've been consistent, and we are small, but we're going to continue to grow.
Awesome. Heather, same question to you. What's on your horizon? What's exciting you?
I was thinking of so many things as Paris was talking there, and I am excited and also concerned that, we are shifting the public perception of nuclear energy. We've had huge successes. What comes next? We have to deliver on our promise to build more nuclear, to scale it up. And I work in the industry, so I see a lot of communication struggles still within our industry, and I'm really excited to support women more in the nuclear industry and to see more of us in there and see more of us talking about it, and also, having and enjoying amazing careers as a result.
Brilliant. Fantastic. And Taya, what's exciting you at the moment?
It's very exciting how the public opinion has shifted, not only in Finland, but in Europe. Like, for example, in Sweden and the Netherlands, countries are doing complete turnarounds. And like Paris said, it makes the anti-side very worried, and that's a good sign because they see that we're winning.
Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to this progress and continuing to turn other countries. And like Heather, I'm a little bit worried about like when we have this momentum, that what if the nuclear industry is not able to deliver? So I'm really encouraging them and pressuring them to that the time is now and you have to deliver. Otherwise, our efforts have been in vain.
Yeah.
So.
Women will save the world.
Yes.
Right. Listen, I've got one quick 5 rounds. I want you to tell me your most annoying thing you hear that's negative about nuclear and what the answer is, right? Because we all get it all the time, right? So maybe starting with you, Paris, what's the thing that people say to you that you think, oh man, why are we still discussing this?
So there's like usually 3, right? But my one that I really was my issue was, what about the waste?
Oh yeah.
Right? And I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's get into it. And I think a very smart way that I've been able to ask is like, can you draw it for me? Do you know what it looks like? And many people just don't. So sometimes it's just exhausting. I don't want to talk about it. So now that's why I took that beautiful photo of just like hugging the waist, and I have multiple and I just show that. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, all right, guys.
Great.
I'm a little tired.
Taya, what about you?
Mine is when they say it's too slow and expensive, and they use that as an excuse to shut down existing nuclear plants. Like nothing is faster than plants that are already there. You can't, so that makes me super angry. Like, why this is not an argument for shutting down plants that are already there. They're already producing clean energy, and there's still many countries who are planning. I'm going to Barcelona next week to demonstrate against the closures of the Spanish nuclear plants.
Yeah.
They're planning to do. So this insanity still goes on, and we need to fight it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is a particularly European problem, right? We saw Germany and Belgium shut down 15 terawatt-hours worth of clean power early for no real reason. I mean, politics. Anyway, sorry, Heather, what's your one that gets you?
I don't know if I have an annoying one so much as I like to try and see what question do I still have. And someone mentioned it today at our beautiful nuclear exhibit. Like, if we keep giving energy to people, then we're going to keep using more and more of it. And so I guess that idea is kind of annoying to me because I'm like, we want people to have more energy, but also how do we balance all this technology and AI and data that we're going to try and manage that is going to use a whole lot more energy? And it's just such an interesting question to me. So I hope, lots of people are thinking about it and we get some really great solutions like nuclear.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess the flip side of that is we do need abundant clean energy for those people who don't have the lifestyles of people in the West or certainly in North America where there's a very energy intensive.
How do we get up to a basic
get up
standard of living that everyone can enjoy?
Yeah.
And so nuclear is hugely important for that, and data we'll see more than that.
Yeah, and the one that gets me most is that, it's too expensive. I'm like, you kind of get what you pay for. Like, you're buying infrastructure that's going to last maybe up to 100 years, which is super resilient and is going to be like operating whatever the weather. And let's face it, we're into a totally changed climate where we need resilience. So it's a bargain in my view. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me here at the beautiful nuclear event. Fabulous to hear what you're doing. And if anyone is watching this and thinking, how can we help? We're going to put up a slide saying, get involved, donate, make sure this grassroots movement has the power to change things going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
It was.
Such a great